Hey guys, it's Nathan from the Kentucky Cycling YouTube channel. I've had some inquiries about my new choice of handlebar, so I wanted to take a few minutes today to talk about my new handlebars, the Surly Moloko Handlebar, and basically share with you why I made this choice of handlebar in hopes that it might be beneficial to you. I want to start this video by saying that the 3 points of contact on a bike, namely your pedals, your saddle, and your handlebars, I believe are personal points of preference that really can and arguably should be experimented with to find what works best for you. That being said, what works best for me may not work best for you. So take everything I say in this video with a grain of salt. I will share my thinking about what went into this, and I will say that I have found it useful to read and view other reviews. I think YouTube video reviews in particular are very beneficial because you get to kind of see interaction with the handlebar in a way that you can't just by reading an article. So my use case, as I've mentioned in previous videos, I was building an adventure bike, also a bikepacking bike, where I was going to go out and explore gravel, some road, and also some dirt. So really a multi-use machine. When faced with my personal choice of handlebar, rather than going the traditional drop bar route, which has been the focus of the bicycle industry when it comes to making gravel adventure bikes these days, I think there is a strong argument that can be made for using a drop bar instead, particularly if you're not someone who's focused on speed, which I am not. I'm just an average Joe. I'm out there to explore and view the world around me, and I want something that's going to actually provide more control. I also, for this bike setup, chose a mountain bike drivetrain, in no small part because it would give me more of a low end when it comes to having gears for climbing. So that also factored into things as well. And last but certainly not least is the fact that I am coming off of shoulder surgery. Knew that going into this that I was going to do a flat bar, but I wanted to have a lot of hand positions on the bike as well. And with the traditional flat bar, you're pretty limited. Well, enter the world of some people call it a comfort mountain bike bar, or an alt bar is more common term, alternative bar, if you will. Actually, is a whole host of bars to choose from out there, and I'll include a very useful article that details a number of those bars it's an article from bikepacking.com, and I'll include that in the YouTube description below. For the purpose of this video, I'll say that another resource that I really want to highlight and I think you should check out is called What Bars, and whatbars.com is a website where you can go and you can actually see the profile of any given handlebar relative to other handlebars. And so you can lay these over top of each other. And so that actually was a very useful tool. And you'll note, if you've seen my initial setup or my initial review video of the Capital Custom bicycle behind me here, I actually initially went with a Soma Dream Riser bar. That bar had 50 millimeters or 2 inches of rise and had about 25 degrees of back sweep. And this particular geometry of this bike behind me, after take some inspiration from the Salsa Fargo. So if you're a Fargo owner or have something that has sort of drop bar mountain bike geometry, you may find this video very useful, because I think that the Surly Moloko bar is probably one of the best bars for someone who is looking to go flat bar or alternative bar, as opposed to a traditional drop bar setup on a bike like that. So for my Soma Dream Riser bar, I basically found that the position, while I was looking to be more upright, was actually a little too upright for my taste. And that was namely because I think of the rise of the bars, but also if you look at these two handlebars on What Bars, you'll actually find that despite the fact that the Surly Moloko bar has 34 degrees of back sweep, and the Soma Dream Riser bar has 25 degrees of back sweep, because of the loop that's on the bar pushing the bar real estate forward, the reach is further away from me on these bars than the Soma Dream Riser bar. So even though I've got more back sweep on the Surly bar, I'm not as upright as I was on the Soma Dream Riser bar. So we're going to go in tight here and take a look. I wanted to show you what my bikepacking setup was on this bike, because I think this bar is not just good for everyday adventures, but particularly shines when it comes to bikepacking. And so this is the Surly Moloko Handlebar. It is a steel handlebar, and so I'll get out of the way that the obvious drawback to this bar is that it's made of steel, and so it is going to be heavier than most handlebars out there. This is why I didn't initially go with this bar, because it is heavier than some other bars like the Jones bar, for example, which comes in an aluminum and carbon. Because this handlebar is actually made by Surly, those people who know Surly know that Surly is synonymous to steel as KFC is synonymous to chicken. So asking them to make a bar in a different material, which I'll just say, if anybody from Surly is watching, that would be great. If you would, I'd love to have a lesser weight bar. You know, maybe this bar in like an aluminum alloy would be great. But that being said, that is, in my opinion, the biggest argument against this. But that being said, I've always been of the opinion that until I don't have 10 pounds to lose myself, which I certainly do at this time, I'm not going to be overly concerned or let weight be the primary concern of my bike choices. I will say that the back sweep on this bike I find to be very comfortable. So it's 34 degrees, and I find that, you know, when you're actually sitting on the bicycle, and this is hard to emulate because I'm just standing beside it here, but if I were to have my hands at my side and kind of just bring them up, this is a very natural position for me. I think the 25 degrees on the Dream Risers were as well. I had the benefit of having a friend who had some Jones loop bars, or the H bars, let me make use of some of those. My personal feeling was it was a little too much back sweep for me. So if you look at it on ours app, you'll see that there's definitely more back sweep than is on these Surly Moloko bars. So kind of find that sweet spot, and what works best for you is something that you really have to kind of get out and experience. I find from riding these bars that there are 3 positions which are very, very useful to me. You know, I've seen other videos, other reviewers of these bars where they basically talk about the hand positions as being maybe up to 5 positions, and I personally feel like that's overkill. There's obviously in the grips, and then other reviewers want to highlight like putting your hands here or up here, and I personally find that there are basically 2 main positions that I utilize while I'm riding, and I learned this from riding. Primarily here, and this is going to be your most control, your braking and your shifting is going to go on here. And then what is really nice and what I like about these bars is that the alt bar position, where I find if I reach out like this and kind of put my thumb here or even on the top, that this position really mimics the position of a hood on a drop bar bike, which is where I would spend most of my time. And because it's very far forward up here, the loop places that further forward, it really allows you to stretch out a bit more. So when I'm climbing and I want a different position, or if I want to tuck down a little bit and become a little more aero on a descent where I'm not having to brake, then this is a nice alternative to this position. So really where I find that I'm spending most of my time is either here or here. If I can contrast that to what I used to do on a drop bar, primarily I was doing either in the hoods or in the drops when I wanted to get more aero. So you know, I really didn't utilize much more than 2 positions. Occasionally I might get out here or here or something like that. So technically, yes, there are more hand positions while you're riding, but I think that the 2 ones that you're gonna make use of are here and here. The third position, which is not something that other people talk about, is actually something you would actually use quite a lot, and it is a lot better than pretty much any other bar I've used when it comes to hike a bike. Especially if you're pushing a bike up a hill, then you know that your hand position, you know, I mean, you're going to have one on the left-hand side, but then having to reach way over on the right-hand side and kind of be having the bike away from your body is a bit much, either you know, drop bars or flat bars. And this angle right here is really optimal for pushing a bike. But if I've actually got one hand here and the other hand here, that I find is actually optimal for pushing a bike. The other thing I want to point out that is just really different about these bars, again, is the loop. So unlike some other bars, so you may look at these bars, or you may just read about these bars and say, okay, well, 34 degrees of back sweep, that's going to give you a similar handlebar, say, to the Koga denim bar, or possibly the Velo Orange Crazy Bar. And I would say, actually, not so. While the sweep might be the same, this loop, and I'll take off this phone here, but this loop actually causes the handlebar, because it kind of loops up like this, and the handlebar doesn't start going back until way up here, that if you compare this, and I'll put this up on Watt Bars, you'll actually see, once you actually compare these things on Watt Bars, these are very, very different. So you'd actually need to end up with a similar hand position on like a Koga denim bar or the Crazy Bars, the Velo Orange Crazy Bars. You'd actually have to have a longer stem to end up with a similar hand position. And you wouldn't have this nice crossbar on top. And I'll say that I think that this is really an optimal bar for bike packing, because as you can see, I've got a bag. This is an 8-liter bag here that I've got under the handlebars. I've got it mounted to the handlebar here, and this is really out of the way. A common problem you run into is with the your bag hitting cables, and that's a very typical problem you run into in a drop bar setup. The other issue you run into a drop bar setup is that you're putting this roll in between the drops oftentimes, and so you have to worry about the width of the bag. Here I don't have to worry about that at all, and the bag is actually kind of tucked down and close to the bike, and if I put my hand up here, you might run into some shifting issues on the bike when you're doing bike packing. So this is, if I'm here or here, I don't have any of those same issues. So the primary downside to this setup over the drop bar is one of speed, and again, not my primary concern. So the only other downside I can think of to this particular setup is just that if you're looking for a handlebar that is optimal for a bike lean, this is not the handlebar. If you're just trying to lean it up here, that angle creates kind of an awkward thing until while I've developed some practice, it's not the best. I mean, it can easily kind of lose its balance. Let me just kind of also talk about a couple other parts of my setup in case you're interested. Here's a couple of feed bags. These are from Moose Trex. This is a out front mount for a quad lock case. I've been using these for years. So this is the back of my phone. I'm trying to do this one-handed, which is a little hard, but if you turn this quarter and then it locks into place, and then you can kind of press this and help it release. But this stays nice and secure on the bike. So because this does take up a fair amount of real estate, I'd initially thought maybe a bike light might go here. I ended up just putting that off to the side a little bit, and better to be the left side, because if you're riding on the right side of the road, that's going to be a little more visible to oncoming traffic. I did end up taping the bar. This is only my second time ever taping a handlebar, but as was the case in the previous video, I've become a big fan already of ESI makes a silicone wrap, which I used for this. And part of what I like so much about it, if you want to redo sections, it's very easy to do. It's not actually, it only kind of sticks to itself and can easily be undone. So this particular wrapping job is very much a function over fashion kind of job. You can see I've actually got some exposed areas here, and there are ways to get around that, including wrapping an extra layer. And I just kind of played with it, and really I wanted this surface to be smooth and not bulky, and I wanted to be able to hit my palm over here and my thumb over here potentially to do some of this, a little bit, and I find this actually to be very, very comfortable despite the way that it looks. And then I've got these Aragon GA3 grips, been loving those, and I added a little bell for trail rides, including if we're on either some single track or some rail trails, which we really like to do. Anyway, I hope you found this content useful. If you've got any questions, go ahead and put those in the comments below, and I'll do my best to answer those for you. And if you're interested in the Surly Moloko bar itself, I'll include a link in the YouTube description where you can pick those up. This is not sponsored by Surly by any stretch of imagination. However, if you do end up using the affiliate link, I will get a small commission, which will benefit the work of the channel at no additional cost to you.
As always, we hope you found this content useful.
If you did, please like the video and consider subscribing to the channel. Thanks.